June, the Egyptian mummy project. Can you please put it from the beginning? No, this is the end. Then we are going to start scanning about 20 mummies. We started the first project in about 10 mummies, because all the mummies on September 27th, you know, we finished the construction of the Civilization Museum in the old Cairo. Then actually in September 27th, we are moving. Look, this is the beginning. What do you do? Go. In September 27th, you have to remember this day, in the evening, all the mummies will be moved from Cairo Museum in Tahrir to this Civilization Museum in Fustat. This will be all the royal kings for the first time. 20 kings will be moved in that day. I always say that we found until now only 30% of our monuments. It's true. We still have 70% is buried underneath the ground. Look at the city of Alexandria. They were demolishing one building here, and they found underneath this sarcophagus. The discovery of this sarcophagus actually made my life miserable. Because for 10 days, the reporters from all over the world are asking me, is this the tomb of Alexander the Great? I said, no. If this is the tomb of Alexander the Great, it should have his name written in hieroglyphic. And also, the sarcophagus should be within a tomb. At the same time, there is rumors happen that inscriptions are written on the sarcophagus saying, if anyone will open the sarcophagus, a curse will happen to him. And the second thing that, you know, many people in Egypt believe in something called the red mercury. The red mercury, it's something doesn't exist at all. It's a legend among the people. They believe in the mummy. In the throat of the mummy, there is a liquid. If you take this liquid, you will be able to control the devils and you will be rich. And many people believe in this. Then actually, they started opening the sarcophagus, and they found inside 3 skulls. And look at this red water. Many people believed that this could be the red mercury. You know, this came out of the sewage. And many people asked to drink some of this if they can control the devils. And actually, they found 5 pieces of gold. You know, that's an important thing. You know, I will always want to give a message to the people all over the world that Egypt is safe. Last night, the night before last night, they put my photograph on the Times Square in New York City. It appeared every 5 minutes. And there is a message, come to Egypt. Egypt is safe. And we did that through a major discovery that was shown live at 8 p.m. on the last April 7th. And that is a big, large cemetery were really discovered in the desert of Middle Egypt. And look, this is Josh Gates, who was with me in this show. But actually, the discovery of this site is known since 1927. They found in the desert this sarcophagus of a priest. It was a priest of the god Thoth, the god of wisdom in Middle Egypt. Then they took this sarcophagus and they put it inside Cairo Museum. No one really never talked about this discovery at all until I came to this site to work as an inspector and took this in 1968. I never thought about this sarcophagus. No one really told me anything about it. But Tul al-Jabal is a beautiful site. It's in the middle of the desert. You have this beautiful tomb that inside combination of Egyptian art and Greek art. Daily life scenes, religious scenes. And also under the ground, there is big, large tunnels, contain thousands of mummies, of the god Thoth, baboons, and ibis. Thousands of mummies inside this, mummified, all of them. Because the Egyptians worshipped the god Thoth in the shape of a baboon and also the shape of ibis. Also, there is a beautiful tomb of a lady. Her name is Isidora. She was swimming in the Nile with her boyfriend, and she died. And her boyfriend used to come about 10 miles a day, every day, to light a lamp in her tomb. And I lived at this site for 2 years. I used to do for her. Every morning I go, I do what her boyfriend did for her. And I lived in this beautiful rest house for 2 years. Then we came to the site here. We began the excavation, and we found huge sarcophagus with about 20 to 25 tons. Inside, you have canopic jars, and you have all the hieroglyphic inscribed. It talks about the priest of the Great Five. The Great Five was the high priest of the god Thoth, the god of wisdom, who has a temple in a site in Middle Egypt called Ashmonaim. And this sarcophagus was found, and this is Mustafa. And they found many artifacts, shawattis and masks dated to Dynasty 26, about 500 BC. And they made a big opening. And I really thought that I should make a program live to tell the world that Egypt is safe. And I went down under the ground. You know the thing when I go to crawl under the ground, the only thing that comes to my mind is snakes. I feel that behind me, everywhere, there's a snake here. But actually, we entered inside, and I thought this would be perfect to make it live to the whole world. I convinced Nancy Daniel, the head of Discovery Channel, and she approved this project. And we started that. We lighted this desert. You know, to do a 2 hours live, you need to work for 1 month until you can make the 2 hours. But we lighted the desert, and this is Josh Gates, and we began to see this at the beginning, this beautiful mummy with these beautiful beads dated to 500 BC. And after that, we entered in a tomb. We call it the thief's tomb, because they broke this sarcophagus and they did steal the mummy. And we found inside shawattis, and we found important artifacts. And after that, went to the thinker of the god Amun tomb. Inside this scented cane that the ancient Egyptian will play to go to the afterlife. Canopic jars, that one of them has a name, and look, they have the 4 children of the god Horus. And we began to open the sarcophagus, and we found underneath that badly damaged mummy. And after that, we had to walk in the desert until to reach the final tomb that contained the sealed big sarcophagus. And we entered inside, and again, I had to crawl for over 150 feet. And actually, we entered inside to find this burial chamber with a big sarcophagus, a sealed tunnel in this area here. And we began to open this sealed part, and we found this head made of wax. It was magical head that the ancient Egyptian would put it inside the tomb to recognize the mummy for the afterlife. That's a beautiful part. Because in that period of 500 BC, they imitated the Old Kingdom and the Middle Kingdom and the New Kingdom. And we began to open the sarcophagus. We have all these workmen who are trained how to open a 10 tons weight lid of the sarcophagus. The inscriptions are telling us that this was the high priest of the god Thoth. And all the inscriptions are telling us that. You know, and after that we opened it and we found this beautiful mummy. The major problem in this show that Josh Gates talks too much. And all the Discovery Channel people were afraid that they would fire him live. I didn't do that. But this really programmed the thrill and the action to open it with a 2,500 years old mummy was really incredible. And it has many beads and amulets and shawattis in the sides. We had to excavate this mummy tomb after we finished the show. Now we come to the pyramids, the place that I spent most of my time excavating and working and clearing all the thrill of pyramids. People use radar, but radar doesn't work with pyramids at all. Inside the Great Pyramid, this is the largest of the 124 pyramids that we have in Egypt, and inside this we have 3 rooms. The one under the ground, the second one they call it wrongly the Queen Chamber, and the third one that has the sarcophagus, the granite one. And many people talk about the mystery of the pyramid. You know, for me as a scientist, I always have to say the truth to the people. Anyone who comes to work with any kind of equipment in the pyramid, it's in his mind one thing: secret rooms. And this, therefore, we have to be careful of the word secret rooms. When I say there is no secret room, you know, because everyone can send me an email through my website. I receive maybe once a week 1 email of 300 emails of people insulting me. You are a big liar, you hide evidence about lost civilization. How can I hide evidence about lost civilization? How can I do that? I have hundreds of people working with me. We cannot really hide anything. I always like the truth. I like to reveal always the secrets of this pyramid. Because we started this project a long time ago. I talked about it here before. This is the Grand Gallery, the most beautiful gallery inside the Great Pyramid. When I closed this pyramid for a year to stop humidity, and I cleaned the salt out of the pyramid. And we came to clean these tunnels. It's 20 by 20 centimeters. And we thought of a robot, a German robot, to send it inside the shafts. We sent it in that shaft, and after 60 feet, the shaft was bending. And we went in the south one. After 200 feet, we stopped in front of a door with 2 cover handles. And actually, we began, when I began to be explorer for the National Geographic, actually, I asked them to design this robot called Pyramid Rover. And we took it inside the Great Pyramid. We opened this hole. It's 1 centimeter and 1 millimeter. And we sent the optic camera. After 21 centimeters of this door, we found a second one. Wow. We have this kind of cover handles. When you go to the Cairo Museum and you see the Knopping jars of Tutankhamun, it has cover handles to pull them. Then maybe those tunnels are hiding something, a tomb or something. And we went back to the northern tunnel that was bending. We found it was bending north and south to avoid the Grand Gallery. And the bending was about 24 feet. Then at 200 feet, like the first one, we found a third door with 2 cover handles. Now it became a mystery. Why do I have these doors? I really, in my opinion, I still believe that inside the Great Pyramid, the burial chamber of Khufu is still hidden. Because that king was asking the magician, Shidi, about the second tomb of the god Thoth, that he can design his pyramid. And that king was really looking forward to build the Great Pyramid like this. Then we thought that we should think about these doors. How can we open them? We have been working in this for the last 10 years, and we hoped to do this the last year. We couldn't. This man from Hong Kong invented this robot, and we were going to send this robot with this team from England to reveal the secret of this pyramid with this team. But recently, there is a team that has been working inside the Great Pyramid for the last 3 years, and they have been using these techniques. This is muon detection techniques. All these techniques actually was used for space. They never been used for archaeology. Then you have to be careful. When you discover an anomaly, the anomaly doesn't mean there is something exists inside the Great Pyramid. Because if you look at how the Great Pyramid was built, it was the base made of solid rock. One day I come back and talk about pyramids next year, and they put large stones and small stones above the base. Then there's many anomalies inside the Great Pyramid. Then they work it, and they said to the east of the Great Pyramid, they said the heating in this area less than this area. Look at this stone. And they make, this is how the technicians sit and they made a press conference to announce that there's something behind this door. Actually, I was giving a lecture in front of the Sphinx on Friday, the second day after they made this announcement, and I went. I found out that this stone, it was restored in 1939 with cement.
Oh.
If you have cement around, the cement makes more heating than the other areas. And this is why I had to make another press conference to announce that there is really nothing in this area. It's a stone that was restored in 1939. Again, they talked about behind the main entrance of the Great Pyramid, they said there is an anomaly. And that, this is the main entrance of the pyramid, and down is the entrance that the tourists use today. But we know that for the ancient Egyptian, to make the descending corridors, the workmen have to have a space to walk. And therefore, we think that this anomaly existed for the workmen to cut the descending corridor. And they talked about another big anomaly, about 100 feet long, above the Grand Gallery. But they never really told us where this should be, exactly, and the exact size. Sometimes they say 100 feet, sometimes they say 120 feet. And this is why, right now, the team are working again to try to give us more reading. And we're hoping in 2 or 3 months from now, we'll have a great answer about what could be hidden inside the Great Pyramid. Because Giza Plateau, still, there is many secrets are hidden under the sand. The Sphinx, the stela that makes all the mystery, that people believe there is something hidden underneath the Sphinx because of this dream stela here. Then, I rediscovered 5 tunnels inside the Great Pyramid. That I will tell you about them for the first time. Behind this stela, we found the first tunnel. This is the entrance to the Sphinx, and this is the area that contains that tunnel. It goes for 10 feet under the Sphinx, and there is nothing inside. The second tunnel, behind the head of the Sphinx, you have 1 tunnel, and goes inside the body down for 20 feet. And after that, you have the third one, which is very exciting. That this is a small hole, and there is a man told me about this. But he warned me all the time, if I enter inside this shaft, a curse could happen to me. I told him, don't worry about the curse. We opened the tunnel, and we found inside 45 feet down the Sphinx, another tunnel. But as you see, I was smart. I did not enter first. I sent an American friend of mine. And he actually got the curse. And now look, we excavated on the other side. We found another tunnel in the other side. But we found in situ 26th dynasty pottery, 500 BC. It proves that all these tunnels were opened by people in that period. They look for secrets of the Sphinx. Not what we do today. We think there's something hidden. The ancient Egyptian in the late period did the same. And again, this is the area of the tunnel here. And I always enter inside. And actually, the king of Belgium, King Philip, came and I told him this story. And he said, I don't like to be king anymore. I want to enter in this tunnel, then the Belgian people can fire me. And he entered in the tunnel, and he stopped the idea that there was a curse inside that tunnel. And when even Clinton came and I told him the story, he smiled and he looked at me. He said, if I entered in this tunnel, I will not have a curse like the one that I had in my life. And you know what he meant by this. The 4th tunnel is in the north side of the Sphinx. I did not open it. It was opened in 1927 by Monsieur Barès, a French archaeologist who restored the Sphinx. And he took a photograph of workmen inside. Look, workmen inside the Sphinx here. That's really very important to prove why these tunnels exist there. Then we had to restore the chest of the Sphinx all the time. The other important thing, that many people believe that there is something hidden underneath the Sphinx because of this stela here that shows something underneath. And people all the time ask me to drill. I said, why do you have to drill? There's nothing hidden there. They said, no, you are lying. There is something hidden underneath the right hole. And what I did, when I found out that the water table began to exist underneath and in front of the Sphinx, I began to drill. I did drill 32 drilling everywhere in this side and in the other side around the Sphinx. And people will say that aliens built the Sphinx. I took photographs underneath to show it's a solid rock and no aliens are hidden underneath the Sphinx. But also people think about another question that people will tell me, why the head is small compared to the body? I tell them, we know about that. The Egyptian carved the head. It's number 3 of the Muqattam formation. But when they looked at the body, look, the body was completely deteriorated rock. For the ancient Egyptian to make a line body from that rock, they had to fill this gap and they had to case all the sides with a stone. The casing of the stones of the body of the Sphinx made the head to be smaller comparing to the body of the Sphinx. That all this was casing stones since the Old Kingdom. The other important thing that I want the whole world to know, there is a big discovery happening for the last 3 years. And every month there is more information in hieroglyphic comes. This is the oldest papyri ever found in Egypt. It is dated to the reign of Khufu, the builder of the Great Pyramid. It is a diary of an overseer of the workman. His name is Mirror. And Mirror is telling us about his trip. He said in this hieroglyphic here that he went to Torah to bring the white fine limestone for casing the pyramid. And he said we took the stones, 100 piece stone a day, we put it in cargo boats. And we take the cargo boats to the area of the pyramids and transport all the stones up to the Great Pyramid. And he told us about this king that he ruled, we know now, he ruled for 32 years. The Great Pyramid was built in 32 years. And actually, Hemionu, the architect of the Great Pyramid, and he told us that the area of Giza Plateau was called Ankh-Khufu, means Khufu lives. The Great Pyramid was called Akhet-Khufu, the horizon of Khufu. And they stated to us in this papyri that Khufu lived in a palace. It could be underneath the houses here. He ruled Egypt from the pyramid site. The pyramid site was downtown Cairo 4,600 years ago. And that's really very impressive ideas to telling us from this papyri about the construction of the pyramid for the first time, and also about our excavation south of this wall that we found the tombs of the pyramid builders. And this guy, Ankaf, he was in charge of something called Rache, the mouth of the lake. It was the entrance of Giza Plateau. It took Mirror and his workmen 1 day to go from the Rache up to the Great Pyramid, because it could be busy. Every workman was coming in, he should sign the first letter of his name. All the stones coming from Aswan, from Torah, from Fayoum, the basalt, should be recorded at the entrance. And this guy was really in charge of the administration of building the pyramid for the first time. The other thing is our great work that started last June, the Egyptian mummy project. That all the mummies are in the Cairo Museum. You know, we started the first Egyptian mummy project, and we made major discoveries. Like we found the mummy of Queen Hatshepsut. This mummy that we wrote, I collected about 20 mummies. This mummy from Kedi, Kings Valley, number 60 in the Valley of the Kings. And we found this box in the Cairo Museum that has a part of the body of Queen Hatshepsut, the liver. I put this under the CT scan, and this is the liver of Hatshepsut. And look, we found the liver, a part of the stomach, and this tooth. It's one tooth that we found in that box. We looked at the teeth of all the mummies that we scanned. We found the mummy from KB60 has one gap that
Here's why.
Inside.
The tooth in Hatshepsut's box is a molar with one root missing. And in the mummy's mouth, there's a gap for a molar in one.
And that is the mummy that we found. You know, every actress in Egypt used to tell me, I want to act Hatshepsut. I say fine. But when I discovered through the CT scan that Hatshepsut was obese, no actress until now want to act Hatshepsut because she was fat. And actually, again, we found that she died at the age of 55. She suffered of diabetes, and she died because of cancer. Means no one really murdered Queen Hatshepsut as written in many books. And also, we scanned the mummy of Ramses III. We had the conspiracy papyri that telling us that his second wife and his son Bentaur tried to kill him. But in the papyri, it never said that was murdered. I put this mummy under the CT scan. I found that someone came from behind and cut his throat. And actually, they put the 4 children for us for healing. And I searched for the mummy of his son. I found this mummy at the Cairo Museum that's called Unknown Man E, age of 20. And he was not mummified. He was covered with goat skin. And goat skin was dirty for the ancient Egyptian. And we know from the papyri that he was hanged. We found evidence of hanging, and we think by DNA now proves that this is Bentaur, the son who tried to kill King Ramses III. And now we have to look for this mummy of Tutankhamun. You know, all what I told you before, it's a theory. We need really to know, did he have an infection, means an accident or not? I believe it's an accident, but I don't have evidence of the accident. But this is when we scanned the mummy, and we also completed with DNA the family tree of Tutankhamun. But how he died, we found he had a flat foot, and we found out the blood doesn't go to his fingers, and he suffered from malaria. And this is why I did announce a theory, actually, that he was riding a chariot, and maybe he fell down and he died. But we need to prove that he had an accident or not, an infection or not. And that is what we are doing now in the Egyptian mummy project. Because Tutankhamun was ill, and his tomb found 130 sticks for him to walk. And he was walking in a stick like that, shooting while the animal sitting, not standing. And this is why I proposed the idea. He was riding a chariot, and he fell down and he died. But now in this desert of Memphis. And we began to do forensic techniques to see how King Tut looked like. And we had these 3 teams. A team from America, and he brought the face of Tutankhamun. We first found this hole that made everyone to think that was murder. But we found out that this was opened in Dynasty 18 to put the liquid for mummification. And this is the fracture that we found. It's 2 days. Accident happened to him 2 days. And this is why we started last June the Egyptian Mummy Project. And this is my team, Egyptian team with 2 foreign people. And we worked at night after we closed the Cairo Museum. And this is the CT scan that we used to scan all the mummies. We need to scan 20 mummies to find out this is the way that we took the mummy out of the museum by this, and we go until we put them in the CT scan. It's an adventure, but really useful adventure. And after that, we brought all the mummies. This is the beginning of the mummies. And scan takes 1,000 photographs of every mummy. And look, we began to take these mummies out. You have mummies of Ramses V, Ramses VI, and you have also other royal mummies and Seti I. And you have in the mummy of Thutmose I, look at the arms. The arms are not like this, like we see in every mummy. The arm is in the side. But when I scanned this mummy, I found inside this arm. Means he died in a battle. And we know that Thutmose I did not die in a battle. Meaning that this mummy is not the mummy of Thutmose I. And again, this is the mummy of Seti I. And Thutmose III, look the amulets, this golden beautiful bracelet that you found in his hand. And Ramses II And also this important mummy that we put down is the mummy of Seknen Ra. And Seknen Ra was the king who dismissed the Hyksos from Egypt, or began the struggle and the fight with the Hyksos. And there is a wound here that many people thought that this is because of the battle. He died in a battle fighting the Hyksos. That's what we're going to find out. In about, when I arrive Cairo next week, we start again in September to find out if Seknen Ra died in a battle fighting the Hyksos or not. But the interesting thing that we know about many diseases. This disease, they call it glass box. I don't know what's being glass box, but this is something that existed today, and it was suffered by Ramses number 5. Then we are going also with DNA to search for the mummy of Nefertiti and the mummy of her daughter Arkhes in Amun that she married to Tutankhamun. And I really think that these two mummies in KB21, a mummy without a head, a mummy with a head. We found the preliminary study that this mummy is Arkhes in Amun. And we think that Egyptians always put the mother beside the daughter. Then we want this Arkhes in Amun, that really going to be a great discovery that we'll announce. And with the 3 fetuses, we can know exactly if she's the mother of them or not. We think that this is the mummy of Queen Nefertiti. And this is the mummy completely damaged because of the flood. This is how the mummy looks like. And I was looking for the skulls of her sister, Mut Neshmet at Saqqara, to find out, to compare between Mut Neshmet and Nefertiti. I really believe that this year is going to be very important because it will ask many ideas about the 20 mummies that we scanned. But the most important thing is also about this mummy in the tomb of Ramses I. You know, Ramses I is the only mummy that left Egypt in 1881. And it went where? It went to Niagara Falls. In Niagara Falls, an Egyptologist looked at this mummy and he said, this is the mummy of a king. Then Michael Carlet Museum in Atlanta bought this mummy. The children made from their money, they saved $2 each child. And they collected $2 million and they put this mummy. When I found out that the study showed that this mummy is Ramses I, I called this lady, Bunny Speed, the director of the museum. I said, Bunny, you have a king in your museum. I can't stand to see a king is living away from Egypt. The king has to come back to Egypt. I thought she would say no. She said, okay, Zahi, come by, give it to you, and the only thing that we'll ask you for is to give us a free lecture. And I didn't go. It was a big celebration, covering the mummy with the flag of Egypt and the United States. I brought the mummy to the Cairo Museum. We made a big press conference announcing that this mummy came back from the States. And this is the big celebration, and I'm saluting the king. And after that, I moved this mummy to Luxor Museum. At the opening, it's a Luxor Museum now. At the opening of this museum, the president of Egypt came, and when you visit, you have a visit of a president, everyone is tension. And I want to take this tension out. And I told the Mr. President, Ramses I is very upset. He said, why? I said, because he stayed in America for 100 years and he never got the green card. Now, with what we are going to do, when I was in Los Angeles for the last month, writing a book, and I talked to this company. This company has a very sophisticated machine, and that machine will tell us if King Tut has infection or not. It costs $250,000, but the company will give it us as a loan for 2 months, and they agreed to do that. And in return, we'll make publicity to the company, because we hope that we can announce this year actually how Tutankhamun died for the first time. You know, the Valley of the Kings, that after Howard Carter, no big major excavation happened in the valley. But I started the first big excavation in 2007. But in the valley, after the discovery of the tomb of Tutankhamun, found another tomb. If you see workman huts like this, meters a tomb. KB63. Inside KB63, there is 8 coffins and 20 big jars. Inside the coffins was the mummification material that the ancient Egyptians used for mummification. And inside the jars, also many material for mummification and salt. And they found these pieces of this bed. They restored this bed, and this is the embalming cassette for Tutankhamun. And this bed is the last thing that touched the body of Tutankhamun. Another tomb was found, KB64 by Basel University. They found this shaft. In the shaft, they found the canopic jars, and they found also this coffin. They opened this coffin, and they found underneath this intact mummy of a lady. She was the singer of the god Amun in Dynasty 21st. Now, I began my excavation in 2007. This is my team. The same team that's working with me today in the valley. We'll start our excavation September 1st. We took only the summer off because it's so hot to work in the summer. And we're working behind the tomb of Ramses II and his son Merenbetah. We recorded many graffiti here. And we moved stones until we found this area that received the tears of the gods. Because the ancient Egyptians made channels for the flood to go through, and after that it go into channels to be away from the tomb. When the Egyptians construct the tomb and they make a mistake, they abandon the construction of the tomb. And we found in this area an area for the workmen to sit down, and they put their food here in that hole. A name of a queen. She was the great wife of the god. In the valley, we went to the West Valley. Because the Valley of the King is divided to East, has 60 tombs, and West has 4 tombs. The famous tomb in the West Valley is the tomb of Ai, who took the throne after Tutankhamun, and the tomb of Amenhotep III, the godfather of the family of Tutankhamun. Then I worked, they call this valley also the Valley of the Monks, because of this scene that exists inside the tomb of Ai. I excavated in this area. I found foundation deposits, graffiti, and what's been a foundation deposit? When the ancient Egyptians construct a tomb, they make 5 foundation deposits, 5 holes. In every hole, they put bones and pottery to announce that the tomb is finished. But here I found only 4, not 5. In the first one, in this one, we found this pottery and a head of an ox. In the second one, also the same, pottery. In the third one, pottery also. In the fourth one, you have the typical dynasty 18 pottery and the head of an ox with a foundation deposit. I mean, there is a tomb in this area. I have to study all of this. It's a unique type of pottery of dynasty 18. Knives also that the Egyptians used for mummification. Then actually, we stopped the excavation because of this revolution that happened in 2011. But after everything was quiet in Egypt, I came back. In December 2017, we gave permission to this mission from using radar from Italy. And they did make a survey on the 4 foundation deposits. And they told me, underneath here, 15 feet, there's an entrance of a tomb. And I did announce what they said. Of course, this helped me a lot to take fund to do the excavation. Every TV from the States here ran after me to do the work. And actually, we came exactly in mid-December 2017, working there until today, in the East and the West Valley. And we came to excavate here, we found no entrance. This is my team that worked with me again, and I did announce that I'm looking for the mummy or the tomb of Ankhis in Amun, the wife of Tutankhamun, and Nefertiti. The West Valley is very noisy. Lots of sand we had to move. This is the largest excavation ever happened in the Valley of the Kings. We had to move thousands of stones from this area here. And this is the beginning of our work. I'm going to give you a feeling of the work. You can see how it's really exciting to excavate in the valley. This is some of the material that we found looking for a new tomb in this area.
Something here.
It's my assistant, Afifi.
This is a part of a vista that belonged to a king.
Over 1,000
Oh, it's
stones
something.
in this area.
It's pigment. We just found it. And it's used in decoration the wall of the tomb.
This is how the workmen leave the site every day, and we start at 6 in the morning until 1 at noon. And that really underestimated how. And that's really how it's so exciting to work in the Nile Valley and taking all the stones out. This area was full of stones. It took us 1 year to clean this area here until we began to find more work in the cliff. And this is the one mountain that we're excavating. And we recorded this is A and B and C and D. We excavated in all these 4 areas, and we discovered many graffiti that the ancient Egyptians left in the site to prove that tombs existed in this valley. Because we know in the East Valley, the tomb of Ramses VIII and the tomb of Thutmose II and the tomb of Amenhotep I were not found. All the queens of Dynasty 18 were buried in the East and the West Valley, which I really believe that Queen Nefertiti's tomb is inside the West Valley. This is the most important area B that was working, moving more stones, and after that, look what we began to clean this area. And our first discovery was actually, we have to look at every piece of sand to find out what is hidden between the sand. And we found these inlays beads. And over 2,000 pieces of this. I mean, there was a workshop, because with this, look, this we call it the wing of Horus. And these gold pieces, all of this, they put it in coffins like this. I mean, there is a royal tomb existed in this area. We continued our excavation here, and we found this. It's a hole. I called it KVU, and after that we worked in this area until we found that jar. That jar was found at the end of April, May 1st, 2018. We had to stop our excavation with the discovery of this jar. I came back in September 1st, 2018, and the first thing I had to look at this jar. I thought this could be foundation deposit number 5. Means the royal tomb should exist in this area here. Then we worked in this area, we found more pottery to prove that this is foundation deposit number 5. And we found in this area here, this is a time when my assistant will tell me, come by, there is something important. And this is the minute that I jumped and I came to excavate, and I found this beautiful silver ring. It has the name of Amenhotep III. Because Amenhotep III, the godfather of the family of Tutankhamun, was really worshipped by all of them. And in the later period, they put his name to be touched with everyone. And this is the name of Amenhotep III. And we found another silver ring also in the area. And we found this water tank. This is the tank that the Egyptians will put water for the workmen to drink. Then you can imagine how I brought life to the Valley of the Kings by knowing how the workmen drink. And I found this oven for burning, this in front of KVU. And near the tomb of I, this is the tomb of I in the West Valley, we found this part of a mummy. This is the lower part of the mummy. And the study showed that this was a part of a queen, Dynasty 18. Because we know the style of mummification in Dynasty 18 and Dynasty 20. Look at the beauty of the jars that we found. Then we began to move to the wide valley between the tomb of I and the tomb of Amenhotep III. We found this Shawati. And after that, we began to work in this area, look what we found. All this workman huts. It's houses, big houses. And inside the houses, we found big jars for storage. And sometimes these houses, they sleep in it, like this. And after that, we have many pottery that we found. And also, we found tools. This is to close a door. This is a storage pottery. And after that, we had to move to the other side. This is the mallet, beads, tools, and we start the excavation in this area and look what we found. That is the beginning of an interesting tool. I was in Cairo at that time, and my assistant sent this photograph to me. And I looked at this photograph. It's an entrance of a tomb, exactly similar to the entrance of the tomb of Tutankhamun. I took the first flight at 5 in the morning, and I did go to the valley, and we began the excavation. We found that this tomb contained the construction tools that the ancient Egyptians used to construct a tomb. What we found? We found these rocks, a tree dated 3,000 years ago, and also we excavated more. We found this pottery vessel. We found these big tools. This is mallet. If you look at the mallet, it's used for making inscriptions and scenes. And this tool, the ancient Egyptians would use it like this: pottery and ropes and skin, animal skin, beads, and also this had a name. It's called Neptawi, means Lord of the Two Lands. And we found this piece of pottery that this monkey is closing his mouth, as if he's saying, I know what is the location of the tomb. I'm not going to tell you anyway. Now, actually, this is Nancy Daniels, and they made 2 hours film. We think that this 2 hours will be shown in September or this coming October, but we had to take photographs from an airplane because you can see the narrow valley and the wide valley clearly. I moved to the East Valley. In the East Valley, first I'm looking for the tomb of Ramses VIII, near the tomb of Ramses VII. And we began to excavate in this area here, and we found this scene of a prince, and also a goddess scene. And this chapel has Khnum on this side, and on the other side, like what you see, scenes in the tomb. And we found 42 small holes like this. This is for the workmen to leave their tools. And instead of taking their tools with them to Deir Medina, they leave the tools inside the holes, and everyone writes his name. We are working also near the tomb of Queen Hatshepsut, and we found many shawattas and baskets and tomb of the 4th cartouche, a name of a lady and her husband, and Horus with a double crown, and this is beautiful cartonnage and pieces of mummies we found. And also we moved to Ramses III tomb area, and we found this coffinet, and also another scarab, Ramesside period scarab. It's a ring, and name of Thutmose IV. And all this came out of a tomb, hieratic inscription, and this area is very exciting. This happened in May 1st of 2019. We had to stop the excavation because of the heat, but we think there is a tomb in this area here, because it looks, and this goes underneath that road. I stopped the excavation because the tourists go here. We had to change the route of the tourists in September 1st. And I work again in the tomb of Mary Petah, which behind the tomb of Mary Petah, look at this area. We're excavating here, and look, we found this top of a jar. We found all these rocks came out of a tomb. Means there is a tomb also near the tomb of Mary Petah, tools, pottery, and big jars. And we think that the tomb should be in this area here. And this is going to happen in September 1st, revealing the secrets of this valley. And there is many people now believe there is behind the northern wall of the tomb of Tutankhamun exists the tomb of Nefertiti. And the story began by Nicholas Reeves from England, who really thought about this. And he thinks that this is the tomb of Nefertiti. And he brought a radar from Japan. That radar working with him before. The radar said there's 70% chance, 90% chance. I took this and I gave it to Glenn Dash, who's an American working with me. He said, this is nothing. If there's something, it should look like this. National Geographic came with another radar, and they did not find anything. A team from Italy again came to work in the tomb with a team from England, and they did have a big fight. That the Italian team said there's nothing, but the English team said there's something. Last 3 weeks, the English team came and confirmed there's something. But I have to tell you, there is no way that anyone will come and block the tomb of someone else. Tutankhamun will never be buried here. To close the tomb of Nefertiti, to stop the spiritual value of the queen. And also Tutankhamun was not the son of Queen Nefertiti. He will never be buried. She will never be buried in this area at all. I really think that this theory is not correct. We, of course, it is the dream of everyone to discover the tomb of Queen Nefertiti. But I'm telling you that that the tomb, the area, West Valley of the Kings, is the area that Nefertiti should be there. And we know that she ruled after Akhenaten, and she came to Thebes after that. And that's why I believe that her tomb should be there. I excavated in front of the tomb of Tutankhamun. And this is the area that the Japanese radar said there is a tomb. But we found what Japanese radar said it's a tomb, it is a crack on the solid rock. You have to be careful of any reading of a radar. We found these workman huts that the workmen will live in it, excavating, living for 6 months sometimes. And this is some of the huts with mats like this. And we studied the valley sequence from dynasty 18 up to dynasty 21st. And now we're making a survey in the valley. We excavated behind this wall of the tomb of Tutankhamun. This golden coffin was moved last week to the Grand Museum, and it's going to be shown in the Grand Museum. That's going to be opened in 2020. It's going to be the largest museum in the world. I excavated on the other side of the tomb. This is the tomb of Tutankhamun. This is my excavation. I worked in this area, and I found there is nothing there. But it is my dream as an archaeologist to prove, I'm hoping, after the 3 years excavation, I'm not really, the whole country stayed 5 years until we found the tomb of Tutankhamun. Then I'm really patient until now. What we found of this construction tomb and the workmen houses and all the artifacts that we found, proving that the Valley of the Kings will reveal many secrets soon. Recently, we had the King Philip, who came to Egypt with his family. This is the Queen and the children. I took them to the pyramids and the Sphinx. And also we had this, a very famous guy. He's a soccer player. His name is Messi from Argentina. And I really had a broken leg. I had to go and meet him. And I did also meet Will Smith. Will Smith, I met him in 2006. He was chosen, me and him, as top 100 by Time magazine. We had dinner together, and he promised that he would come to visit me. And he came, and I had to go with my broken leg with him and his family. And Queen Beatrix, Queen Sophia, and this is an actress, and this is Tony Blair, and I took the children to the tombs of the pyramid builders. The old lady came with the wives of her sons, and Laura came with the wife of the President Bush, and Mrs. Clinton. Hillary came with Chelsea once and alone another time. And this poor man, I had to invite him on my expense for lunch at Ina House. I thought that he would pay something for the Grand Museum, but he never paid anything. I had to take the money of the lunch back. And this is Queen Sonia of Norway, and this is Hugh Jackman. The reason that I met him, because I'm a friend of Jeffrey Katzenberg, producer in Hollywood. Jeffrey came with Ben Stiller and Chris Rock. I took them to the Great Pyramid, and this Kurt Russell and Goldie and Susan and Jacqueline Bisset, Danny Glover, and actually Shakira did sing in front of the Sphinx. And Anne McKellar, her boy entered inside the tunnel of the Sphinx. And this is Michael Bay and Megan Fox. They were making a movie, Transformer 3. And this is Beyonce. After this photograph was taken, I and her had a big fight, and I dismissed her of the pyramid. If you want to know the whole story, write her name and my name, and you know what happened. This is Salma Hayek, and this is Greg Norman and Chris Evans. Greg Norman is very famous in the golf, and Chris is very famous in the tennis. And they wanted to get married. Matt Lauer, who was working for today's show, called me. They want to meet you and get married in front of the Sphinx. They came after this photograph. I said to Chris, the Sphinx has a curse. You'll get divorced 3 months from now. He said, no, I'm in love with Greg. 3 months later, she was divorced. This is Naomi Campbell, and this is Dr. Ruth. Of course, all of you know Dr. Ruth. And it's a famous visit of President Obama, 1 hour and a half with me. Inside one of the tombs in the pyramid, he turned it to the other side, and he saw this. He said, Dr. Hawass, I look like this. I said, Mr. President, it's true, you look like this. And he laughed, and I gave him a replica of my hat. And still my favorite is Lady Di. That statue that I found, it changed my life. When I found it, and I was cleaning it, I said, I found my love, archaeology. And this is why when this young lady came to meet me from the States and she asked me to wear my hat, we began to sell my hat. But when I come to meet young Americans here, one thing I tell them, passion. If you have passion for anything this moment, you make it big. And my passion in archaeology made me to live with the pharaohs. I really, sometimes I feel I'm not living, but when I meet someone like Bob here, who talks too much, or what is he? Bob is not here? If he's here, where is he? I have the whip for you tonight. If you open your mouth, I will boom with the whip. Then Bob, someone like Bob, when he talks too much, he takes all the feathers from my mind. But I bring him back, and I really believe that this year is going to be very important. I hope I come for you next year with a major important discovery, because as I said at the beginning, we found 30% of the Egyptian monuments, still there's 70% is buried underneath the ground. And I always say, you never know what the sand of Egypt may hide of secrets. And thank you.